Hi, Longview. I'm Jennifer, and I'm here with Lee Green, Carl Zysett, and Katrina West of our Divorce Care Ministry. And that's what we're going to talk about today. So, Mr. Green, Mr. Lee, would you please tell us what is the Divorce Care Ministry?
Divorce care is a chance to find healing and hope for people that are going through a divorce or have been divorced. And it doesn't matter whether it was 30 years ago or last month when your divorce was final, there is hope and healing that you can find there.
Okay, and so I asked Lee if he had a divorce care story. And so would you briefly tell us what divorce care has meant to you?
Well, I have been actually the facilitator of the divorce care here for a number of years, along with Steve Fogelsong helps me in that class. And my divorce was 34, 35 years ago. And through that, it gave me an understanding of what people go through that experience a divorce.
Did you have any divorce care when you went through your divorce?
No, I actually began divorce care as a facilitator, and it helped me a lot the first few times. I did it at another church before I came here, and it helped me a lot just going through the video series. I realized what I needed, and I had already remarried by the time I did that.
Okay, all right. So, Carl, tell us your experience with divorce care.
Well, it was about 5 or 6 years ago, and it was just really nice to get the emotional support. You know, I was kind of shocked the whole thing I was going through, never expected it. And my emotions were everywhere, lots of questions. Felt like I was all alone in the world. And it was a great group support, both spiritually, physically, emotionally, all of the above. And I actually went through it a few times, and it was like 2 or 3 times, and each time got more out of it as my divorce progressed along.
So what did you get out of it physically?
People that I knew related to me, people that had already been a few steps ahead, or maybe there's right where I'm at, support, people I could call with questions, whether it's legal questions with, where do I find an attorney, or housing, things of that nature. What should I expect with the kids? All those types of things. That's physically, I was able to get some of the answers to that questions there. If not answers, support.
What about emotionally?
Oh, wow. That's a big one. I mean, you're everywhere. In fact, that's where I started with Longview. Was a church big enough I could hide and cry in, a church small enough people would care. And I just, it just gave me a foundation. You're everywhere emotionally, highs and lows and everything in between, and the same emotion or opposite emotions at the same moment. It was just a huge support, really was. And other class members and also the facilitators, and the video series helped as well. They told you what to expect, and usually they were right.
That's good.
Yeah.
And what about spiritually?
Just having a firm foundation, knowing other people are going through it, but also just seeing biblically what what's talked about in the Bible, and what's acceptable, what's unacceptable behavior, not with myself and also with other folks, the spouse and other things, and pretty much just to. The root is the Bible. That's what we need to have our foundation, and without that foundation, we're just floundering by ourselves.
Thank you for sharing that. Well, Katrina, tell us your experience with divorce care.
I signed up for the class with intentions to get a divorce, and after 4 or 5 classes, I realized that the divorce wasn't for me, that I needed, if possible, to go home and reconcile with my husband, and so that's what we did, and we had our vow renewal, and the rest is history.
And you've been married how many years?
5 years.
That's wonderful. All right, so God has used divorce care in different ways with different people, but there's been healing in and restoration in all of those ways, hasn't there? That's wonderful. All right, so let's talk about some details. Mr. Lee, tell us when it starts and where and all of that.
Okay, before I tell that, I'd like to share, Carl touched on it, that the people that come to the class, they show up and they're broken. Emotionally, spiritually, physically, financially, mentally, they just have reached their end. And they find hope and healing, and they find out that they're not going through it alone, that they have people that will go through it with them. Also, one of the things, when we take all of our emotions and one of the things that we learn is from spirituality, financially, every different aspect of our life, when you're going through a divorce, your emotions take about 85% of your energy, and it just wipes you out for everything else. And that's what you find, and when you get that emotional support and you get that back, it helps. And we meet on Wednesday nights. We usually try to start at 6:20. There is childcare provided. There's a meal that you can come at 4:45, I think is when it starts. You don't have to sign up ahead of time. You can just show up and pay your $6. I think child's meals are like $2 or $3. And the class starts at 6:20. We try to end by 8 o'clock.
Carl, tell us kind of how the class works. What do you do in class?
Well, it's a 13-week video series. Generally, you start off the class, just meeting and greeting people, but then you start the video sessions. And then after the video, we break out, sometimes put our chairs around a circle or however, the rest of the class wants to do it. And just have a discussion, and you can talk about the video series, you can talk about what's going on in your own life, or maybe, cry with other people or support others as they need to. So yeah, it's centered around the video series and the workbook, and after that, it's kind of a free-for-all, but in a very organized manner.
Okay, so it's not just one person taking over the class.
Well, if they need to, maybe you might allow them to. Okay. Everybody's emotions are at different spots. Some people have good weeks. Some people, Nobody really has a good week going through a divorce, but some are better than others for sure. Okay. And if one person needs to take up the whole class, we usually let them.
Okay, but it's guided.
It is.
Okay. So, is there anything else, before we get into a few more details, anything else you would like to tell us about this ministry?
Other than that, there's no cost to it other than the $15 for a workbook, and is highly recommended. If you can't afford the $15, let me know, and we'll see if we can get somebody to pay it for you. But if you can at all pay it, that's the best thing to do. Okay. And it's best to do it with the workbook because it has daily devotionals and things as you go through it in each week, and those will help you as you go through the divorce care class.
Okay, so here's a big question that you might be wondering if you're seeing this. Can anyone come, or do you have to be a member of Longview?
It's open to anybody. It doesn't matter. We've even had an atheist come one time that came to our divorce care class. Okay. He didn't make out too well because he didn't believe in God. We did have an atheist. So.
Okay, all right. So anyone can come. All right, and you already talked about childcare. And so we have lots of Wednesday night activities for children of all ages, and then they end at 7:30, and then there's aftercare until 8 o'clock. So your children will be taken care of while you're in class. And our Wednesday night meal, you talked about that. They start serving at 4:45, but if you work and can't get here until 5:30, you have until 6:20 to eat and get your children settled and then get to the class. So did you tell them where the class is going to meet?
Yes, we meet in W103 right behind the Connect Center.
Okay, which is right outside of the fellowship hall. So from the fellowship hall, if they ate dinner, where would they go?
If they came out and went to the right past the Connect Center, and it's right on the corner, right by the exit. It's one room that's isolated by itself.
Okay. All right. And last question, do you have to register ahead of time or can you just show up?
No, you can just show up, and it's best if you come and go through all 13 weeks. But if you don't find out about it until 3 weeks in or 7 weeks in,
Okay.
you can still come and you'll still find a place, and you'll want to come back and do the ones you missed.
Okay, so is this going to be a rotating class that just continues every semester?
We do it twice a year.
Okay.
Once with the school when school begins along that time, and the other time first of the year, January,
Okay.
first part of February.
Okay. So would you all recommend this class to people going through divorce?
100%.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all for being vulnerable and sharing your story. I know that it made a difference in your lives. And if you are going through a divorce, I know that God can use it to make a difference in your life as well. So hope you'll pray about it and maybe join us this semester for divorce care starting September the 6th, Wednesday night.